Eagle Bend Cemetery, Links of Memory. In the heart of Todd County, Minnesota, rows of weathered headstones stand as silent witnesses to time. Eagle Bend Cemetery, where for over 140 years, the stories of pioneers, families, and a remarkable fraternal organization have been written in stone. The story of this sacred ground begins not in Minnesota soil, but in the ancient traditions of the Independent Order of Oddfellows. The IOOF story originated in 18th century England, where small trade workers, considered odd fellows because they practiced unusual or miscellaneous trades, banded together for mutual support. In 1819, the organization crossed the Atlantic, establishing itself in Baltimore under Thomas Wildey. As America grew, so did the Oddfellows, becoming one of the largest fraternal organizations in the world. When the Minneapolis and Pacific Railway pushed through central Minnesota in the 1880s, it brought waves of settlers seeking new lives in the rich farmland. Among them were members of the Oddfellows, carrying with them their traditions of mutual aid and community service. These principles would shape the establishment and growth of Eagle Bend Cemetery. The earliest documented burial in Eagle Bend Cemetery dates to 1881. Charles Bond, followed just one day later by young Harry Bond. Their graves began a record of life and loss that would span generations. The cemetery's organization into numbered blocks and lots reveals its nature as a carefully planned community resource, reflecting the Oddfellows' commitment to order and dignity in all things. The cemetery's meticulously kept records, compiled by Carol W. Becker, tell stories of triumph and tragedy. The Abbott family plot speaks of both. Their graves span from 1883 to the 1970s, marking their deep roots in Eagle Bend. But among their markers are those of two children, Bert, who died in 1889 at age 12, and Mabel, who passed in 1893 at just 2 years old. The harsh Minnesota winters claimed many lives, as the Spanish influenza swept through the community. Thomas and Glendora Hayes, young siblings, died just 3 days apart in December 1918. Their graves stand as stark reminders of that terrible pandemic's toll on small communities. Through times of peace and war, the cemetery grew. Veterans from multiple conflicts rest here, their service honored by American flags that flutter in the prairie wind. Commitment to community service found expression in their care for these heroes' final resting places. Initially reserved for members of the order and their families, the cemetery later opened its gates to the entire community, a transition that reflected the Oddfellows' broader mission of service to all. Their motto, "Visit the sick, relieve the distressed, bury the dead, and educate the orphan," found practical expression in this evolution. Today, Eagle Bend Cemetery continues to serve its community. Its 14 blocks contain hundreds of stories, from the carefully maintained family plots to the humbler graves in the potter's field, where those of lesser means found their rest. The names etched in stone tell stories of immigration and hope. Anderson, Johnson, Peterson, Swedish and Norwegian surnames predominate, speaking to the Nordic heritage of many settlers. The Conan family plot holds generations from Frank H. Conan, born in 1855, to his descendants who lived to see the dawn of a new century. Some stories speak of heartbreak. Multiple entries in the burial records simply read, "Baby," tiny lives whose brief presence left lasting marks on their families' hearts. The Dorman plot includes a baby girl who lived just one day, December 25, 1933, her Christmas arrival and departure marked with a small stone. But there are also stories of long lives well lived. Leslie and Mary Orr's graves speak of a marriage that spanned decades. Their headstones show they raised children, saw some pass too soon. Doris, Elton, and Una all died young, but they persevered, leaving a legacy that continues through their descendants today. The cemetery's newer sections show how burial customs have evolved. Modern markers sit alongside century-old monuments, the old and new joined in common purpose. Yet the Oddfellows' influence remains visible in the ordered layout and maintained grounds. The three linked chains of the Oddfellows, representing friendship, love, and truth, can still be found on some of the older stones. These symbols remind us that while the cemetery began as an IOF institution, it grew into something larger. A place where the links between past and present, between families and community, remain unbroken. From its origins as an Oddfellows cemetery to its present role as a community landmark, Eagle Bend Cemetery has been more than just a burial ground. It is a repository of memories, a guardian of stories, and a testament to the enduring bonds between people and place. Here, in the heart of Minnesota, the principles of friendship, love, and truth that guided the Oddfellows continue to resonate. Each stone, each name, each date tells part of a larger story, a story of community, of service, and of the eternal links between those who came before and those who follow after. The cemetery stands as a living historical document, preserving not just names and dates, but the very fabric of a community that grew from pioneer settlements to the present day, guided by the principles of mutual aid and service that the Oddfellows brought to this prairie land. Through changing seasons and passing years, Eagle Bend Cemetery remains a place where history is preserved, where memories are honored, and where the stories of countless lives continue to speak to new generations. It stands as a testament to the enduring legacy of the Oddfellows and their vision of a community bound together by friendship, love, and truth. Along 165th, where prairie meets sky, stand stones that whisper of days gone by. 3 links of chain carved in ancient stone mark where Oddfellows made this place their own. Beneath maple boughs and weathered oak rest pioneers who bore settlement's yoke. Names etched deep in Minnesota grain: Anderson, Johnson, through sun and rain. Here lies young Charles Bond, first to arrive, 1881, no longer alive. His brother Harry followed next day's sun, 2 graves beginning what was just begun. Nordic names tell tales of ocean crossed, of homes left behind and old worlds lost. Swedish, Norwegian letters proud remain, on marble weathered by wind and rain. The abbots sleep beneath towering stone, their children, Bert and Mabel, called home. Too young, too soon, in youth they fell, tales that these quiet markers tell. Through winter white and summer green, through changes time has brought unseen, the Oddfellows, vision still holds true. Friendship, love, and truth ring through. Small stones mark lives just barely begun, baby carved simply, names left undone. The dormant child on Christmas Day touched earth briefly, then slipped away. When Spanish flu swept through the land, the Hayes children walked hand in hand, Thomas and Glendora side by side, December 1918, when they died. Veterans rest among kith and kin, their service marked by flags that spin in prairie winds that softly blow across these rows, both high and low. The Conan stones tell stories long, of family ties grown centuries strong, from Frank who came in '55 to those who kept his dream alive. 14 blocks in ordered rows guard memories as time flows. Potter's Field holds humble graves, where dignity in death still saves. Modern stones with photos bright stand near Victorian angels white. While ancient symbols slowly fade, new chapters of life are daily made. Here on this Minnesota ground, where prairie winds make lonely sound, the chains of fellowship still bind those who left their tales behind. So pause along this country way, where 165th leads us today, to Eagle Bend's eternal keep, where memories never sleep. For in these grounds where gravestones rise, beneath the changing Minnesota skies, the stories of our people dwell, more tales than any tongue can tell.